What's up, everybody? How you doing? It's the 12 Days of Wrek-Mas Q&A AMA Part 2. This is what happens when I'm trying to answer everybody's questions. We had to split this into 2 parts because this video was getting long. And I didn't know if anyone was going to stick around and watch the whole thing. So let's do a Part 2. All right, so we're picking back up off where we left before. Instagram now, to my Instagram people. Two Fries says, how are those cute twins and what's the cool stuff they are getting for Christmas? Christmas? In this economy? Psh. Taking them to Benihana. That's it. No. The twins are good. Thank you for asking. They're 7 now. They're in 2nd grade. They're doing well. They're healthy. I got to pick them up from school here in a minute. Yeah, man, they're good, and it's a fun age for me. Any of y'all who have talked to me about parenthood online or at a tour or, you know, in person, have maybe heard me say that the first few years for me were very much a struggle. And I know it's taboo to say, but I was definitely questioning my decisions to become a parent early because it was a lot of work. And of course, I got 2 at the same time. So if you're a parent out there and you know what it's like, double it. And I think when it turned to like 4 or 5, it started to really turn the corner. And now 6 and 7 have been like a joy. They're like my little homies. I love them. Communication's fun. They're into music. They're obsessed with Michael Jackson right now. It's like, it's fun, you know, like I enjoy like their growth. And I know some of my parent friends tell me like, oh, just you're in the sweet spot right now. And, you know, it's going to get rough in those teenage years. And that might happen. But for now, I'm in the sweet spot. So I'm enjoying it. Thank you for asking. All right. Tord says, what did you mean with Dr. Psy, but you may call me, or what did you mean by with Dr. Kosis, but you may call me Psy? Psychosis, you know, like when you're going through a psychosis. You know, so his name, but Psy is like a name that people actually have, like sometimes short for like Sylvan, or like my grandfather's name was Psy. So Sylvan, or I think Sylvester is also shortened to Psy. So Psy is like a shortened name. So that's why I wanted to be, you know, facetious. I wanted to be, you know, a little bit obnoxious and be like, okay, let's call him Dr. Kosis, but his first name is Psy. You know, it's me just kind of, it's like my dad joke before I was an actual dad, though. Shout out to The War Within. Still a classic in my book anyway. Crafts by the Bunny says, what's one genre influence you feel you haven't incorporated yet that you'd like to tackle? That's a good question. That is a great question. I'm a huge funk music fan, and I think funk is always kind of involved if you're doing hip hop, but real, like for real funk though, which I have some musician friends that make funk, you know, Anonymous and Felix have a group called Phenoms that's like funky as hell. And I would love to like do a project where I do vocals over something like that, something a la like a James Brown kind of vibe. I don't know, like, I mean, a lot of those voices in funk have power, and I'm not a power vocalist, so I don't know where I would fit in there other than being able to rap. But I think funk, like real classic funk, is something I would love to tackle because I love the music. I just don't really know how to make it. You know what I mean? So I would say funk right now off the top of my head. All right, Mr. Rez Insta says, if you had to get a day job, what would you want to do? All right, so I mean, I don't even have to think about this much because in this economy, I'm already looking. I would say social media management. I'm real good at that. Film editing, video editing. I'm pretty good at that too. It's something that I would have like gone into further if I didn't get into music. I like film. I love film. So whether it be a film or a TV editing or just now like a online vlog editor or, you know, podcast editor, I would like to do that as well. I think just production in general, whether it be like video or like event or something like that, I think I'd be pretty good at something like that. You know, something to that effect. I always had like secret desires to like try my hand at bartending. I always thought I would make a good like waiter as well, like a good server. You know what I mean? Like I'm real good. My memory's good for that kind of stuff. Like being aware of what people's wants and needs are and being cool with people. Like I think I would have made a good like server, but I think bartender would have been more my speed. So like I would have like always dreamed of like being able to get successful enough to open up a bar because I always just thought that would be fun. So yeah, I don't know. I have like, I'm on some Tom Cruise shit. I have a secret dream to be a dope bartender. I don't know. I just think bartender is a cool job. Stony Blue 662 said, what's the backstory on anxiety attacks? It's a good question. A few years before I did The War Within, I was on South Beach in the B room studio upstairs, just writing and kicking it and doing music as I normally would during my tenure there, during my South Beat record deal. And I had done a song, like a freestyle, basically jacking a beat from Lil Wayne called I'm Single. Turned it into a song of mine called One Too Many.
Neither every single one of y'all are trying to end me, then just acting friendly, or I've had one too many.
That was about drinking too much. And I loved the vibe of that song. I wrote that shit at like 4 a.m. I was the only one in the studio. South Beach was outside the window, like just being what South Beach is at 4 a.m. Weird and desolate and kind of dark, but kind of glitzy at the same time. Weird. And I was upset with myself that I had, not upset so much because it wouldn't have existed without that music. But that music, I didn't own it. I couldn't put out One Too Many by myself, you know? It was a Lil Wayne beat. I was never getting out the doors with that.
That's a stupid ass question.
But I wanted to, for the album, for my first Strange solo album, to have something that had a vibe similar to that. And so I had expressed to Sharp Sound and a few other producers I was going to like try to make something in that realm. And Sharp Sound is very good at making beats that kind of fit that vibe. And he sent me the original beat for Anxiety Attacks, and I wrote it the same exact way, 3 or 4 in the morning, very late, desolate, solitary vibe, and came up with Anxiety Attacks. And it really just kind of came. It wasn't like a planned thing. I didn't know what I was going to talk about. I didn't know what the vibe was going to be like. I just knew that I just wanted to like follow the vibe of the music. And anxiety was on my mind a lot at the time. I had friends who suffered from like anxious spells, and I felt myself being pretty like wound up as well. I don't feel like I had really experienced true anxiety for real until a bit later in my life, but I thought I had at that time. You know what I mean? Like I definitely, the well got deeper for me after that, but at that time I thought I was in the mix with it, you know? So I wanted to write about it, and I wanted to write about it for people that I knew that were suffering from it. So I just took all the things that were kind of like weighing on my soul at the time and put it to the music. And yeah, and we did a video for it too. And it was the song that was the lead single, the first drop that we released off of, you know, kind of like the labels will tell you do your street single, which is like not the big swing, but it's like the first look off the album. And I wanted it to be Anxiety Attacks. And I remember Dave Weiner and the homies at Strange Music being like, I don't know if this is really like the big step out, your first look you want. And I was like, nah, man, I'm really confident that will strike a chord with people and be something that resonates with people, because it's something that would resonate with me as a listener. And I fought to have it be the first look, and it ended up becoming the first look. And the reaction to it was positive. It was good. It was what I had hoped for, and probably some more. And it's still to this day a staple in my live set and a song that people talk about. So I think I made the right decision, but there was some pushback on whether or not it would be. Luckily, it turned out for the best. All right, next one, Jiggly and DePuff. Jiggly Andy Puff? Jiggly and I Puff. I'm going with that. Why did you leave Strange Music, and when is the next Murs Day album coming out? All right, we covered why we left Strange Music. Started our own thing, put out our own records. We're still distributing our records through them, so shout out to them. When is the next Murs Day album coming out? I don't know. Murs is like in the process of retiring right now, you know? And I'm not going to say never, but right now there's no plans in the works. It might just be a unicorn out there in the wilderness, just, you know, eating sprinkly sparkle grass or whatever.
There you are, you cheeky unicorn. We've been looking for you everywhere.
But if the opportunity ever arose to do one again, it would be amazing. I would love to do another Murs Day show, because those shows were some of the most fun I've ever had on stage.
I don't know which way to go, but I got my backpack on real tight, I'm ready to roll. Say I don't know.
I love Murs. I got to produce his Murs in Miami EP not that long ago, which we did, you know, on vinyl as well, which is floating around in here somewhere. Murs is the homie for life. That's fam for life. So if he ever wants to do some music with us, you know, we'd be down. Maybe it happens one day. Who knows? K Special Mama said, do you come up with your metaphors on the spot while writing, or do you go back and add them after for effect? You do it so effortlessly. Thank you. It's definitely a on the spot while writing thing. The writing in general. I will from time to time, like use the notepad as I'm out and about, and if an idea comes up, I'll put it down or voice memo something just to remember it for later, and then kind of go to the pad when I'm looking for ideas. Or I might start a verse out and just kind of like jot it down, and then when I get back to the studio, dig into it for real. It's never like a go back and add them after for effect, because that's really like part of the writing process. I can't really see a way where you could go back and do it after. You kind of got to do it as you can't, you know what I mean? While you're building the house, you got to put the bricks in. You can't go back after and stuff a brick some random spot. All right, Melody R 1982 said, how did you go from rap battles to Mayday? That's a great question. All right, well, I went to do MTV when I was like making a name for myself in Miami. I'd cut my teeth on battles and done some shows and kind of like met a lot of the like upcoming underground artists in Miami. And when I did the battle, the MTV battle, basically some of the people that worked with the early members of Mayday before they had started Mayday were starting their own independent label. It was called Gorilla Arc. And then what happened there was they wanted to sign me to a deal after I came back from winning the MTV battle. So they started to kind of put that into place. And then all these dudes worked for a large company, an adult entertainment company, and the owners of that wanted to start a label themselves. So they said, hey, why don't we start a label and you guys help us manage the whole situation? So this is after I had already started my talks to sign to G-Arc. So basically I got kind of handed over to this situation that they were forming with the company they worked for, and that turned into South Beat Records. So I was the first signee. Mayday was signed as well as a two-man group. And while we were both working on our albums, we were getting real friendly at the studio. I was listening to their music. They're listening to mine. I was doing some stuff over Plex Beats. And we were, becoming friends, being label mates. And my album ended up getting shelved there. The first Mayday album came out under that deal. And during that period of time, I got real friendly with Burns and Plex to the point where I was listening to their sessions and be like, man, this kind of music I want to make. After a few years, the label shuttered and they just kept the studio open. So we were all floating around still kind of working for the company or for the studio. And that's when Burn and Plex approached me and said, hey, we're expanding the group. We're adding some instrumentalists and we want to add another vocalist. Would you be down? And at that point, it was kind of a no-brainer. I was already playing, sets with them on South Beach at Jazzid. We were doing improv sets, and I was just getting up there and freestyling with them. We were starting to do some records here and there, so it was kind of like a no-brainer at that point, But yeah, that's kind of how it all went down. Hustle Pride Sky or Hustle Pride Sky, SK. He said, Wrek, want to collab with you? Which terms? Hey, I'm down to collab. I do use it as an alternative source of revenue, but I do charge a fee. So if you're interested, you can email Steven Juarez, mgmt@gmail.com. Send an email over there and we'll get you sorted out and see if it's something we could connect. I would love to work with you in the future. Let's get it. And then we're moving on to Brockster 12. What's the song that made you go like, yeah, I want to do that as well? Oh, man. I think by the time I had heard like, the Shiznit on Snoop's first album.
Boy, it's getting hot. Yes, it is. Snoop Dogg, it's over like the bar is crazy. It's being.
Unbelievable on Ready to Die. Or then when I started kind of getting into like the underground stuff in a little bit later, when I heard Daylight from A$AP Rock, I was like, yo.
For what I'm recycling, I clean logic procreation. I did not invent the wheel. I was the crooked smoke adjacent. While the 666's last, I'll keep angels roped in the basement. I walk the block with a halo when I stick poking their patience.
I think a lot of early A$AP Rock stuff made me really want to be like, I want to rap too. You know what I mean? I really want to do that. I think that whole EP, that whole Daylight EP was definitely at a peak moment for me when I was like, I really want to put projects together. Because before then I was doing a lot of freestyle rapping and kind of fucking around, but I wasn't really in the mix like that. You know what I mean? Until I started to hear projects that inspired me that much. So I would say Daylight, A$AP Rock is definitely one that I was like, yo, I want to be a part of this. Stakes is High, De La Soul.
Systematic focal point, bringing damage to your burrow. Be some brothers from the east with the beast that be thorough.
Is another one that was like, yo, MF Doom. I think I was already pretty much rapping already by that point, but hearing all caps MF Doom was like, Come on now.
So nasty. There's probably someone of a travesty having me. He told the people you can call me your majesty.
I want to be on this level. Gel Harkma? When can we finally hear your next solo album? I can't wait. 2026. I promise. I can't believe it's been so long. It's kind of like sad and sick. I don't understand. It's just, I'm mad at myself. But I'm going to make up for lost time. I have multiple projects. I got the next full length with me and Mike Summers. I have another project that's me and one producer for the whole entire project that's kind of nearing completion. I have a few collab projects as well in the works. There's a lot that I've been working on for quite a while. That's why I've been a little bit quiet these last few years, only doing like these singles and Patreon stuff. So I promise there's a lot coming soon. So stay tuned and make sure you're signed up on thewreckingcrew.com so you can get the heads up. And some of that stuff will be exclusive first on the Patreon. So come mess with me over there, and I promise it's coming. Wicked One SB said, what's the biggest motivation behind getting over writer's block? Honestly, this is what I tell everybody a lot. It's like, you got to get out there and live, man. Like, some people beat their head over the wall, or against the wall in the studio trying to figure out where the motivation or inspiration is coming from. But for me, like, you can't just be inspired making music all the time. You got to go out and experience life. You have to go, navigate relationships, communicate with people, go out into public, see concerts, see movies, like, find inspiration in the things around you, be inspired by other things. So I've only had a writer's block a couple times under high pressure situations very early on in my career. And since then I've had very little writer's block because honestly, I just I don't force it, for one. So if you don't feel it, you don't feel it. Some days you go in the studio and we just end up talking shit. We don't record or write anything. And that's okay. You have to allow yourself to be okay with that. And then secondly, if I fall into a moment like that, I just take a little break, step away from it all, go watch a fire movie, go watch some TV, find something that's going to spark an idea. And then sometimes it's just go out, go to a concert, go to a club, go to a bar, someplace that you might not even ever want to go. And then just go, and you don't have to be out there partying or whatever, but you could just go out there and just take in the atmosphere, see people, do, people watch in a way. It's just see the life around you and kind of just you have to turn your antenna on. When you go out there, you have to be kind of conscious as well, looking for ideas. You know what I mean? You might hear somebody say something at the bar or say a phrase, or you might talk to your Uber driver or whatever, and the Uber driver tell you a story and they'll get you to think of something, and then you put it on the pad. Boom. You just have to kind of keep the antenna and the channels open so that you can let those ideas in. So that would be my biggest recommendation for that. Artful Mel says, is there a big collab cooking soon? I do have a few collabs on the new album. My last two albums have had no collabs whatsoever. And I just really got burnt on the politics of collabs and how much it would cost, or having to have my pride take a hit if somebody didn't want to do the song, or I don't know. So I kind of leaned off collabs for a while, but recently I've been starting to dip my toe back into the pool, and we got a few on the way, and I got a whole project with a very talented artist coming out soon too. So it's in the works. So stay tuned is all I can say for that. AO Logics, the man, the myth, the legend, said, what's the difference between a hippo and a zippo? And I can't tell if he's trolling me or if that's a serious question, or I'm going to go with probably not. I don't know. Is that a riddle? Is that a joke? For those who don't know, AO Logics, MC, producer in his own right, member of Artificial, who ran with Mayday in the early Miami days out there and does a lot of graphic design work for us. Fire, super talented individual. Shout out to Logics. Next we got Souls Inc. Pen 83. What got you out of battle rap? I still love battle rap to this day. When I did MTV, it definitely felt like it was the pinnacle of I never got into battle rap to just become a battle rapper. It was always to get me to music. I really wanted to make music. I didn't really want to be a battle rapper, but I did love battle rapping as I started to get into it. It was after doing MTV, it was if there was ever going to be a time to pivot into I want to be a musician, I want to be a recording artist, it was now. And this is the pinnacle, this $25,000 competition. Then I went back a month later for New Year's and won another $25K. So it's those two battles right there was I don't think it could get better. I don't know what other titles I could take. At that moment, I felt boom, okay. And then I stayed out of battle rap for a year or two while I was working on my project at Southbeat. And then maybe on that second year, they said, yo, they're doing a promotional event. Mix Show Power Summit, Puerto Rico. They're doing this like Fight Club battle. Would you want to be a part of it? And I was trying to like promote my album, but I was in the middle of recording the album. And I was like, yo, I'm down. I'll do it. What I didn't know was battling was starting to evolve already. This is like, before we had everything fed to us on the internet. So I didn't really know fully what was happening to battle rap. And battle rap was becoming more written, more a cappella, more set up, not so freestyle. But I went into that battle in Puerto Rico like, I'm going to do what we do. I'm going to come off the top and keep it real and all that. And when I got there, it was J Mills, Shells, the homie Jin, and myself. And it was rough for me. My first round with Jin wasn't too bad. But after that, it was 1 minute rounds a cappella. I was not prepared for it. The crowd was heavily New York skewed. They really fucked with Jin. They did not fuck with me. And I kind of was like pushing Jin a little bit in the beginning because I felt like he was kind of taking it easy on me. And then he came with the heat.
But you lost your pride. He gave him a Rockaway jacket and he got tossed aside.
And I did not recover from that. It was probably the worst battle experience I've ever had. It's on YouTube. You could still see it. And it's like, it's hard for me to watch. It's like, I was not prepared. So after that battle, I was like, kind of swore it off. Like, I'm not going to do that anymore. Cause if I'm not going to do it with full heart, like I can't half-ass it cause I get embarrassed. And then I went back once more right before we put out the Technology EP, or right after we put out the Technology EP. Cap Callis was hitting me up and he wanted to do like a grind time promotional exhibition with me and No Can Do. And it took a while to convince me, but he was very persistent. And then I thought this would be a great platform to produce, to promote what we were doing with Mayday. And also I knew about grind time and I was a fan and I was watching it. So I knew more what I was getting into. I knew how to prepare for it. Okay, I got to write. I got to memorize a cappella. Okay, cool.
The only thing Pookie here is winning is a crack battle. Showing up in Broward looking like a black Fraggle. Shit, I brought almost every girl in here. I thought I could get you laid, but with that face, I'd be lucky enough to get you a one-legged prostitute with an Adam's apple. Black pterodactyl.
I basically went back to it and did that one battle, and I haven't done one ever since. Unless you count that Eddie Giggs one I did recently. But yeah, I don't really battle anymore because I'm just not prepared enough for it. I don't think I could run like the level of evolution that battling has gone to now. I don't think I could hang, honestly. Like the writing is insane, and the memorization of these verses and how long they're going a cappella is crazy. And then on top of that, not to sound too old school about it, but I love the beats, man. The beats is what got me there. Like, I love the music parts. And you took the music out, it turned into something different. I still have heavy respect for it, still a super fan of it. I just love the music part of it, which I've seen them kind of bringing back in some leagues now. Like, I don't know if it's just as part of like a, one round is on a beat or something, but I've seen some more like battles happening on beat. But yeah, man, it's just, I got all due respect to everybody that battles still. I'm a super fan of it. In my dream world, I'd love to step back in the ring one day. I just don't know if I got the heart for it anymore, man. Like, I can't take high stress. I'm too old, man. I'm too old for that shit. I got kids, man. Like, I can't, it's like a boxer stepping in after all those years. It's like, nah, it wouldn't be good for my health. If you could go back and change one thing in your musical career, what would it be? Thanks for the dope music. Count C. Thanks for listening. Man, I definitely think I was a little too aggressive in my earlier part of my career, and like my braggadocio like didn't really match my actual like character, and I felt like it took me a while to get to where I felt comfortable being like who I really am on the mic and how I handle myself. So I would have loved to have like cut through that part a little bit more and like just been okay with just being me and not have to put on that like fake like front to basically like feel like I was fitting in with like the hip hop community at the time. Like, so I don't know. It just felt like it took me a while to get comfortable and be like, this is me and it's whatever. If you like it, cool, fuck with me. But if you don't, that's cool too. But I think that's something that just comes with aging in general. I don't think it's something that is like just relegated to just me or hip hop or whatever. But yeah, if I could go back and change that, I wouldn't mind getting out of that phase a little faster. Heather Hooligan said, how was it performing at the gathering of the Juggalos this year? It was fire. We've been there 5 times. This is our 5th time. And I think this one might have been my favorite one. This one was dope. It was a vibe, man. It was fun. They took really good care of us. It was a great lineup. It was ISO, Mayday, Waka Flocka, and ICP on the main stage. That was the main stage lineup for the day. So it was a really, we've done side stages and main stages before, and this was one of my most favorite main stage like lineups in terms of like where we were placed. And they treated us real good, and we had our own golf cart. We were whipping around, and it was cool. It definitely felt a little bit smaller than previous years and a little bit less like chaotic and crazy, which I mean, I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but we were also only able to be there for one day because we had to fly to LA and do Rhyme Fest right after. I would have liked to have hung around for Tech set and just like really like kicked it for another day or two. We didn't really get to like enjoy it. We just kind of had to drop in for our day and then be out. But yeah, it was fun. It was fun. I was very happy they invited us back. It was the 25th anniversary, the Legends year, and they put us on the Legends stage. So it felt very. I was very honored to be there, and we had a great time. So hopefully we'll go back again doing number 6. All right, we were done right there with Instagram. Moving over to Facebook now. Roger Pettit says, "What is the major differences you find being signed to label like Strange Music and being a 100% independent artist?" Excellent question. This is something we've been finding out for ourselves for the past 2-3 years now. Is it 3 years? That's insanity. The major difference is funding. You know, the hugest, biggest, largest elephant in the room is when you're signed to a record label, they fund everything. You know, there's a budget for your album. So let's say they're saying, oh, we're going to spend $20,000 or $50,000 or $150,000 on your album and produce everything, get everything manufactured. They pay for music videos, studio time if you need, production if you need to pay for production, wardrobe for the videos, travel, food when you're, eating on site, whatever it is, like the label's taking care of it with the budget for the album. You have to recoup that budget and pay it back. It's like a very terrible bank loan. The percentage is really rough for the artist, and it takes forever to pay it back. Sometimes you hardly ever pay it back. A lot of albums don't recoup, especially these days. But at a traditional record label, you trade off those things with maybe, they're paying for everything, but then they're also kind of on top of you creatively. Whereas we were lucky with Strange, you didn't really get that. They let us kind of do what we wanted to do, and creative freedom was a big thing there. So that was nice. But now going to the independent route, you have to pay for everything. You fund everything. But the exchange is we have full top to bottom creative control, which, like I said, wasn't a big stretch for us because we were already kind of getting that at Strange. It was just, you had to kind of abide by some protocol, but it was pretty loose, pretty artist friendly. But we own the material. If something was to happen to me in the near future and I wanted to pass down this music to my children, the music I've been working on from 2011 to 2021, basically I can't pass any of that down. I can pass them my publishing and my writer's share, but I can't. I don't own the masters of those albums. So none of the label owns that because they paid for it. So the trade-off there is that you pay for everything, but you own it outright. If Nike comes to us tomorrow and says, "Hey, we love this new Mayday Just Us record. We want to make it the face of the next LeBron campaign," we'll be like, "Cool." We don't have to check with anyone. We don't have to get a sign-off from anyone, and we would receive the lion's share of the revenue generated there. So those are kind of the trade-offs. Other than that, though, Strange Music was a pretty chill label to be signed to. So I think my only other like real noticeable difference is with Strange Music, especially during like the very busy early era that we were signed to the label, there was a lot of artists and a lot of traffic, and you had to kind of wait your turn. Even if your music was already done, you had to wait for your slotted release date. And some years that you had to fight for a slot because there was so much releases being, I think for Into the Further, I think it was, or for one of the Mayday records, I think we had to like fight to be like, no, we're releasing an album this year. We release an album every year, because it was easily like we would have had to wait another year, and we really didn't want to do that. Now, because we're fully independent, I can release whenever I want. It's like it's all up to me. I'm not worrying about any particular traffic or how much bandwidth there is for the staff or for the audience. Like, it's just, I can go release it whenever I want. So a little bit more freedom, you know? So it's been a learning curve, even though I've always been very tuned in to these things and was very like observant of what was going on when we were at the label. It was still a pretty big learning curve to start to realize not only just how to release records independently, but how much should we be spending on independent music releases and how fast or how slow that money comes back, and then how to calibrate for that to make it sustainable. That's what we're trying to still figure out at this point. So sometimes I'd say your guess is as good as mine. Anastasio de la Riva. If someone told your 10-year-old self that you'd be where you are today, would you believe them? Part of it, yes, I would say yes, because even as early as 10, I was like writing songs. My dad was a songwriter. My mom was in a band. Like, my family was into like the performing arts. So like, I definitely knew I kind of wanted to go somewhere in that realm, like early on. I don't think if you would have told me that I'd have a gold and soon to be platinum plaque on the wall, that's one thing that even when I started to like really start to do music, I was like, man, the kind of music I like and the kind of style I like I can't really foresee myself ever getting like a platinum record. You know what I mean? Like, it's something that I thought I was making peace with very early on, like, not to be anti-manifesting it or anything, but I was like, I just being realist, I just didn't think we would have a record that would get that big or that far. You know what I mean? So that part is kind of like, that's a minute detail that I would have probably not believed you. You know, or there's been a few moments like Burns and I recently opened up for Ice Cube in Colorado, and Ice Cube, I listened to Ice Cube super, super heavy growing up. I don't think I would have ever, like, I got emotional like watching him from side stage, because I was like, I don't think, like, even after all the things we've been through, I was like, I'm not sure I would have believed you that we would have been here opening up for Cube. So that was like a moment. There's moments like that I don't think I would have believed you. But if you would have just said you're going to be in music, I think I might have believed you. All right, next, Teresa Gonzalez said, have you considered collaborating with the Harp Twins and Wolfgang Twins at Mesa Theater here in Grand Junction, Colorado? Part of their merch is a comic book. Maybe have a crossover adventure. I have not gotten to see you live, but their show was awesome and so much fun. Teresa, I'm not familiar with the Harp Twins or Wolfgang Twins. I do know the Mesa Theater in Grand Junction, played there many times, and I'll have to check them out. I'm going to put them on the list. Thank you for the recommendation, because I do love me some new music. So thank you for that. Next up, Dustin Vance asks, went to the Believers 10th tour in Denver. Fucking amazing show. Are you guys planning on doing another album-specific tour in the future with any of Mayday's other albums? Believers 10 tour, one of my favorite tours. Super fun tour. It was great to do an album from cover to cover for the first time ever. Obviously, Believers is one of our most popular records in the catalog. And a cool side effect of that was we were meeting people that were coming to Mayday shows for the first time ever, which seems kind of late to us. We've been doing it for 10 plus years. And that new segment of the audience was kids who listened to the album with their parents when they were like 13 and now they're 23. You know what I mean? So like, that was wild. That was bugging me out. It was making me feel hella old, but it was also making me realize like, oh, this is dope. Like, this is a new audience that I didn't even foresee coming out to support us and rock with us at the show. So it was a fun experience. I would love to do it again. I'd like to do one for Future Vintage. I'd like to do one for South of Fifth. I'd love to do one for Mers Day. Maybe for one of my solo records. I would love to do it again. Absolutely a strong possibility. So stay tuned, hopefully. Paul Burgess Pulis said, I would like to know two things. Number one, who would be your dream collab? And number two, what's your plans for 2026? Number one, dream collab. Oh man, I got a few. A$AP Rock still on the list. Run the Jewels, especially LP, definitely on the list. I love Sir from TDE. I think he's amazing. Anderson .Paak, huge Anderson .Paak fan. Would love to do a record with him. Jungle, I'm a big fan of the group Jungle. Those are my top 5 right now on top of my head that we haven't worked with already. There's a few artists that we have worked with that I would love to just work with again, like a Black Thought or Pharoah Monch. But those other 5 that I haven't worked with yet, those would be my top current top 5. Matt Rigel said, how's your boys doing? Both times we met, we talked more about dad game more than music. It bees like that sometimes. Sometimes you get parents together and they just start talking about parenting because because it takes up a huge portion of our life, you know. So it's what what else? It's the best way to talk shop. The boys are doing good. Thank you for asking. Growing every single day. Super into Michael Jackson right now. All right. Destiny Huffman said, I have a 2-parter. 1, what's your favorite Christmas movie? 2, when is the last time you skipped? Like physically skipped? Like skipped a Maloo? Oh man, I don't know. It's been a long time. If that's the kind of skip, unless you're talking about like skipping work or school or skipping my responsibilities, like actually skipping, it's been years. It's been years. And what's my favorite Christmas movie? Oh man, I don't know. That's tough. I like the Jim Carrey Grinch. That's a classic. We watch that every year.
And this time, I'll keep it all.
Gremlins, love Gremlins. That's considered a Christmas movie, right?
No, don't shake it. We're gonna have to open it now. It won't wait till Christmas.
Die Hard. I know there's a debate about whether or not that's a Christmas movie. I love Krampus. I watch Krampus every year. I think Krampus is hilarious. We just watched Home Alone with the kids. That was cool. Oh, you know what? Muppet Christmas Carol is probably up there for me. You know, I'm a big Muppets fan, so you know, it's only right. I gotta say Muppet Christmas Carol. You know what time it is. Come on now. Jim Henson forever. Hunter Fluidity said, how did you get Rascaz on the waiting room? We kind of covered this on the previous question, but basically he was in prison at the time and he had just gotten out, and my A&R / homie KGB, he had a contact for him, and he had heard that he was basically out and working and looking for collabs and looking to do work and shit. So we were trying to put together features for my South Beat project. So we got in contact and he linked it up. So we would go work at J.R. Rodham's studio. J.R. would produce the track. And then he met us out there, met him in the studio, super, super humble and cool cat. And I didn't know it then, even as cool as he was in the studio, but it would that would be the beginning of now it's like damn near almost 20-year friendship. Like Raz is the homie. We've hung out on multiple occasions. He came and recorded his verse for Wu-Tang Meets the Indie Culture at my apartment in Hollywood, which is why if you listen to that record in the beginning of the Raz Jizza track, he shouts me out. It's because I'm recording his verse. I was actually tracking his vocals. We've been friends for years. I think the drunkest I've ever gotten in my entire life was with Raz at Purdy Lounge in Miami one time. That's another story for another day, though. Basically, I did that as a single for South Beat. It was Business as Usual was the B-side to Who's the Man, which was the DJ Spinner produced A-side. And what's up? So yeah, it was basically done first as a single, and then when it came time for me to do the Waiting Room mixtape, I was like, well, I got to include this on the mixtape. So I did it on the mixtape. I feel like me and Raz actually have enough collabs out there that you could string them together and make an album out of them. We had like multiple tracks together with Miami Beat Wave. I was on his project, Adidas. He was on a Mayday remix that we did. He was on Black Magic City, which was the pre-ordered track for The War Within. We've done like a bunch of joints over the years. Shout out to Rascaz. He's a real one.
It's your boy, man. It's Rascaz. I just did some shit with Wrekonize. Shit is fire, man.
Jimmy Youngblood asks, you have always been pretty lyrically open with mental health as well as your relationship with your sister. I'm close with my sister. Can you give us a brief Cliff Notes version of what both were like before versus now? You mean the relationship with my sister before and now? It's cool. We had kind of like a rocky period there where life was just lifing and we didn't really like connect because she lives hours away. So I don't see her that often as much as I used to back in the day. But as life has kind of smoothed out, she had kids before me. So like as life smoothed out with her kids getting older and her work stuff smoothing out a little bit, we've been able to be more in contact now. So like I like our relationship right now as much as I did when we were growing up, if not more. And there was a rocky period in between when it wasn't that we were beefing. It was just like life was just life. And I felt disconnected to her. And as her big brother, I was like, felt some type of way where I was like, yo, holla at your boy. What's up? But no, we have a great relationship and I got nothing but love for her, you know? All right. So moving on, we got a few more. Joe Pacero said left or right Twix. Come on, man. It's gotta be lefty gang all day. James Altman says, what type of microphone do you record on? Your vocals always sound super crisp. Is it the Electro Voice RE20 mic in your videos? Majority of the stuff you've heard to date is recorded back over here, right there. in that closet back there, I have a booth, and that is the Neumann TLM 103, and it goes through a UA compressor, a UA, what is it, LA 610, I think I have here. And then I have a pretty good template from my homie Miyagi that I use in my Pro Tools, like mic chain setup. And then I'm working on a new project now where I started using the RE20 here. All the podcasts, all the GTFOH podcasts is this RE20. And basically I'm running for the music I'm doing with this mic. I'm using this mic through the Focusrite ESA 1 that's right here. And then I'm using that with a Scarlett 4th generation preamp as well, interface. So most of the stuff you've heard though from me is the Neumann. I like the Neumann the best for vocals. The TLM 103, it's like for the price range and the quality, I like that a lot. And then that UAD LA 610 I like as well. One of these days I got to do a studio video like tour breakdown. I've been asked a few times and just slacked on that, but yeah, that's what I'm rocking on. David Platt said, "Why you and Tech N9ne had a fallout?" We did? It's news to me. We should have that Wrekonize and Tech N9ne collabo album for sure. Only in my dreams, I guess. We didn't have a fallout with Tech. Like I said in an earlier question, it was more like our eagerness to want to get out on our own and own our material than it was to like get away from Strange. You know what I mean? And we did everything like on the up and up and the way you're supposed to do it, respectfully, amicably. And it went so well with the negotiations of how we basically went to our distribution agreement with It Goes Up and switched off of Strange that Tech took us on tour after that. We went on the Asinine tour after that, you know. So we had basically announced that we were starting our own label at Red Rocks Mayday, May 1st of 2022 on the Asinine tour. So it's all love. We just saw Tech when he came to town with Falling in Reverse. And, you know, our homie One Ton works with Strange and Tech still. We see him whenever we're in the same, whenever we cross paths. It's all love. One of these days I want to get him on our new record. I would love for him to put me on something at some point if he ever, you know, with Tech, I feel like the track speaks to him. So if the track doesn't yell the other artist, you know, yell your name, you're not going to get hit up. But I feel like one of these days he might reach out. And I'm definitely going to ask him for another verse. If he'd bless me, I think he would. But yeah, no fallout. It's all love. A few more Facebook questions. Neil Caffrey said, "I love your music. Been following you for years. Do you ever feel when you started your career, you gave it your best, your strongest material, and now it gets harder to find newer content? We're about the same age, and I find all your albums hit me at different phases in life. I still cling to the war within. Even your new music has flown my life and emotions as I grow. Thank you for being a real artist. I'll always be a fan and keep following." Yo, thank you, Neil. I appreciate that. I do feel like artists are always up against the nostalgia bug for their first project, and that is more like about the connection that the listener makes to the early projects, because nothing can like replicate the emotions you felt when you first heard that artist for the first time. So a lot of times I feel like people are biased in a way that they won't connect with any newer music, because at that point in time, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 15 years ago, when you first heard that artist, you heard their first album or second album or whatever, you connected with it in a way that you can't ever replicate, you know, and it reminds you of a time that hopefully is like a fonder time. I feel like sometimes people even do that when the record reminds them of a terrible time. You know what I mean? They're like, yo, this music really helped me out during a terrible time. Boom. There's nothing going to be ever better than The War Within or Take Me to Your Leader. We do get that quite a bit. I do feel like I see people doing that with all the artists though. So all artist catalog kind of suffer that. I feel like me personally, Pressure Point, which is my last album 5 years ago, 6 almost, is my best album so far. I just feel like I'm still shooting for the best. I don't feel I've done the best I can do. I still feel like I'm making better music. So, you know, some people will come at me and say that the older stuff is better. And I say, hey, man, that's cool. You know, I'm glad you like the older stuff. Maybe one of these days you'll like something newer. If not, you know, this is where I'm at right now. And I'm at the end of the day, I can only make music that connects and resonates with me right now in my daily life. I can't really think about 13 years ago, War Within, or whatever many years it's been now. I can only think about right now, the daily. Life has changed. I got kids. I'm older. I'm not on Strange anymore. Life is a little bit different. So it's like I'm attacking the music differently, and new tools are arising. I'm trying to learn beats in a different program, like, so things will just kind of change. The vibe will change. So yeah, I don't feel like I gave it my strongest or my best back then. I still, when I get on the mic now, still feel like I'm just as hungry as I was then. Some people might not agree, I don't know, but I still feel like I can make a song tonight better than any song I've ever made. I hope that feeling never goes away. I don't want that feeling to ever fade, So thank you for listening, Neil. I appreciate you. Cameron Audsley said, have you and Burns almost or have engaged in fisticuffs? If so, why? Me and Burn have never come close to fisticuffs. No, never. I'm not that type of person, and Burns isn't really that type of person either. We're pretty peaceful when it comes to that. We've definitely had disagreements. We've gotten to like debates, strong, heated debates over music or over life or whatever. And in the beginning, I feel like him and I definitely had like a big brother, little brother relationship. For the most part, it's gotten way smoother over the years because it used to be a bigger group of us. And as it's whittled down, it's just really me, him, and Noms now. So the three of us are just kind of like holding on for dear life. You know what I mean? So, but no, we have never come close or engaged in fisticuffs ever. No band members have, and I hope that it would stay that way, especially now. It would be really weird if we just broke into a random fist fight in our mid-40s. Chris Barkley said, where is the money really, in caps, at with the music? Is it streams, touring, merch, placements, etc., etc.? Man, it's fucked up out here right now. I'm going to be honest with you, Chris. It's crazy right now. It's very, very concerning. I was excited to get off of Strange and get onto our own situation because streaming, I was thinking, okay, cool. Now we're going to get, before we were only getting 15% of record royalty and to go to pay our album budgets back. But now we're going to get, 80, 85%, whatever it may be. We're going to get the lion's share. But what happened is streaming revenue has gotten fractured since then. So the streaming revenue that was coming in before has only gotten more and more fractured because you have giant artists taking up the huge percentage of the pool. Because it's not like every time you stream my song, I get a fraction of a penny. It's like however many people are listening to music, they break that up into percentages for each artist, and then you just get a percentage off of the whole entire revenue pool based off of how much of the listenership you have. So you got the top artists taking up all these percentages, and then all the rest of us are kind of like fighting over scraps relatively. So is it in music? Not really. If you think about how much money we spent on our last album versus how much money we've generated off of 1.5 million plus streams, it's not good. I'm just going to keep it all the way funky with you. Touring is still a good way to make money, but it's getting harder because if you think about the price of everything to get out on the road, gas, crew, the rentals of vehicles, food, lodging, all those prices have gone up like this for the past 10 years. And then in the meantime, unless you blow up or have a smash somewhere or just accrue like a crazy audience all of a sudden, if you're just kind of like doing mid-grade like attendance, those numbers it's not really the best equation. So touring is still good, but getting harder and getting a little bit more unsustainable in a way. Merch is still cool. Merch is still decent. It's not the best. It's also like, I know a lot of my like artist friends are tiring of trying to like sell merch all the time. You know what I mean? Like, it's not why we got in the game. Me personally, I didn't get in the game to sell t-shirts. I got in the game to make music. I just love music. The shirts is just like necessary, but I kind of grew to like the designing part of it over the years. But again, like, it's hard to like imagine how often are you out there buying band shirts? You know what I mean? I don't know. If you get a placement, if you get a sync license, you get your song put into a TV show or a movie, those checks can be dope. But the problem with sync licensing now is as the revenue has dried up in all these other places in music, it's oversaturated now, the amount of people that are out there trying to get licenses, like sync licensing and placements. So that, because there's so many people fighting for it, it's hard to get one. And then when you get one, the prices they're paying aren't as good as they used to be because they're like, I don't need you. I could just go get there's 5 other people waiting to give me their shit, So, I don't know, man. I'm trying to figure it out myself. It's the hardest it's ever been, which is, it's weird. It's a weird time to be trying to make money in music unless you're cracking, if you're in the starting out or in the middle tier somewhere, it's a very questionable time to like, do we jump ship? Do we stay? What do we do? I don't know. So, I guess, for me, the only way I'm really trying to survive is just doing a bunch of different stuff. A little bit, like record royalties are okay, but, a little bit of revenue from streaming, cool. And then sell a few shirts here and there, cool. Patreon subscription, cool. A little bit there. Then you kind of go out and do some shows, cool. And then hope some publishing money comes in. And then all those little things start to add up to make it kind of sustainable. But you'd be surprised where like some musicians that you think like are really killing the game or probably like off in some yacht somewhere are like aren't making as much money as your friend who has a 40-hour a week job and gets a check, Last Facebook question, Elliot Trail. What's the closest you've ever come to giving up music and just walking away? What made you reconsider? Right now. No, I'm out. I'm about to leave, I'm about to be out this bitch. No. I honestly have said all these times over the years that I'm a lifer. I don't think I'll ever give up music, period. Maybe give up a certain aspect of music, business, like, maybe I won't tour anymore. Touring is really rugged on the body, mind, and soul, but like making music, I don't think I'll ever want to give that up. My dad is 71 now, 72 now. He's working on an album right now. You know what I mean? Like I hope for that. I look at him as a role model for that. I look at my other artist friends who are older than me as role models for that. I want to be making albums, writing and recording music as long as I physically possibly can. If I lost my voice tomorrow, I'd be trying to just make beats, I just want to express myself through music some way, shape, or form. The money part of it and the business part of it is the part that can be kind of like, I think probably the closest I've ever come to thinking about like easing back up off it or just getting a different gig is literally the last few years. Like coincidentally, it's kind of lined up with when we went independent, but at the same time, it's also to do with just the state of the business in general. It's just like, not only is the business getting crazier for everybody, we decided, okay, now's a good time for us to get out on our own and try to like, own the day and bet on ourselves. And you're like, okay, well, let me tell you about the business right now. You know what I mean? So, and what makes me reconsider every day is that it's still, even amongst all these things I'm talking about, all the treachery, all the craziness, still gets me out of bed every day, still makes me like, completes me and makes me feel at peace. You know what I mean? I can't say that even when like the money, financial things are all upside down, like when I just make some songs and make some music and share it and get some feedback on it, it's still like the best feeling to me. So I don't foresee myself giving it up anytime soon. All right. And we got a few more here. We got a few from X. Ducha from X said, what was your favorite feature to have ever worked with on your solo albums? I mean, it's definitely gonna have to be, I would probably have to say Pasta News from De La Soul, who got on Church Road on the War Within album, because he was in Miami at the time and came to record with us. So similar to how I recorded Freeway's verse for Mayday or Graph's verse for Mayday, or even recorded with Nori, like, recording with the person, it's so much more engaging, and so especially when it's someone you look up to like that, getting a verse from Black Thought was a major one. Getting a verse from Pharoah Monch was a major one. Like getting a verse from Dell was a major one. But like having Paz there to record and actually engineering it, recording it, like kicking it with him, was definitely one of the most fun experiences of the recent features that I've been able to do in the past 10 years. So I would have to say that one. Shout out to Pasta News. Shout out De La Soul. They got a brand new album, Cabin in the Sky. Make sure you check that out. Gorilla Mon 541 said, would you ever be open to doing a 4th entry in the War Within series? While it seemed to have a definitive ending, I can see a few different paths forward in that story. Definitely could revisit that. And I think there was someone who suggested a potential ending, an alternate ending to that series, and I liked what they said about the alternate ending so much that it made me rethink what I did, and then I thought, oh man, I should go back and do that. So there is a potential fourth entry in that series, just if anything, to end it a little bit differently. And I'd be interested to know what your potential path ideas are. Maybe I rock your idea instead. At me on X and let me know what those path ideas were. Maybe, you know what I mean? Maybe I could implement what you were imagining as well. Vic Vinegar 25 said, "Who's your dream collab of all time?" I think we covered that already, but Vic Vinegar, go back to that top 5 collabs back there earlier in the video. And we had one question from Bandcamp. Alariat? I don't know how to say that. But what's up, homie? Peace Wreck. Is there a chance the Alliterats could record and release a new album? Much love and respect always. Alex, what's up, Alex? I would absolutely love for my brothers H2O and Rudy Goblin to reunite with me and us to record a new album for Alliterats. I think that would be amazing. H just recently recorded a group project that was phenomenal, and his bars on that were amazing, as sharp as ever. And Rudy Goblin's been dabbling in film and he's been playwriting for some years now, but he's also expressed to me the desire to do a project of some sort. And we reunited in 2019 for one of those freestyles of the 52, which was a super joy for me to be able to put together and do. I love both those dudes, and I love the history that we have, and I love the Alliterats project. I would love to be able to tackle a project, the three of us, with all the chops that I've gained since then, production-wise, recording-wise, marketing-wise, like all those things I've learned over the years, to apply it to the talent that I felt like we had as a group even back then. I think would be a lot of fun. I would love to do that. So if time ever finds us being able to connect the dots on that, I think it would be amazing. And that's a great question to end on. So thank you, Alex, for that question. Thank you to everybody who submitted a question for both Q&As. Appreciate you. It's been a vibe. I hope I answered your questions as best as I possibly could have. You can catch up on all the drops you missed and the drops to come if you head over to thewreckingcrew.com right now. Make sure you join up. If you want to join up as a free member and just be on the mailing list, you can do that. And if you want to get access to any of the paid drops, you can pledge starting at $3 a month. So please come and join. Support me. You heard what I just said earlier about the music and the money being all crazy. It's fucked up out here. So I need your help. I need your support to go forward into this next year and release as many projects as I possibly humanly potentially can in 2026. So I appreciate you. I'll see you over on Patreon. Much love. Peace.